Welcome to Married and Family Living with the Grasleys on 92.7 WSJF.
A show focused on the domestic church, the family, which is the foundation of faith and spirituality.
We hope you find our stories encouraging and helpful as we share our challenges of married and family living.
Hey, Linda, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing Al. I was going to say I'm doing Al. I'm doing well, Al.
That's okay. That's good. Hey, 51 episodes.
51.
So we decided to call this one in. We actually put all the information into the chat GPT, and this is what it spit out. So we're not exactly sure how it's going to work out tonight.
So what's chat GPT?
It's artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
So I've used it a couple times. I used it to write a Valentine's Day poem for you. It actually turned out pretty good.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's definitely fun. So
it didn't work for our script, though.
No, it did not. We did try it. We put some stuff in to see what it came out, and it just was not.
Little vanilla.
Yeah, it's not us.
Oh yeah, it's not us. We should have said from the perspective of Alan and Linda Grassley.
I mean, it has 50 episodes now to decide what exactly our personalities is. You know what I'm saying?
It's at the top of their resource list.
It's out there. It's on Spotify. So the last episode we talked a little bit about openly praying and Damar Hamlin and stuff, and how the revival kind of happened with the NFL thing. It's funny now how it's not even in the news anymore. So the Super Bowl's come and gone, and it's like...
And it's behind us.
It's behind us.
But I heard on, I think it was on Relevant Radio, they were talking about, and maybe one of the AM stations, about the revival in colleges where kids are going to churches to pray for
hours,
days
and hours. So maybe it's happening.
Yeah,
so you can't find that on the mainstream media. You got to go look somewhere for that.
You got to dig.
But it is pretty exciting.
There again, some hope
is there. So before we get into our episode here, we're in the middle of Lent, and how are you doing, Lynn?
Well, great.
Are you?
How are you doing?
Well, I decided I'm give everything up. But
as you always do.
As I always do, but I'm going to try not to complain about it.
Oh, yeah.
So far...
let's see. How many years have I known you?
Yes, I'm going to try not to complain about all the things I'm giving up, Linda.
Okay. Because as we remember, Al gives up literally everything.
Everything. Even water.
But the last handful of years, you've been trying to add something. What are you going to add this year?
Well,
giving of your time.
Haven't you noticed how pleasant I've been since Lent started, Linda?
Well, I meant you usually read a book or something, right?
Yes, I'm going to try to read a book on a saint. So,
right. Okay.
I'm still waiting for that to come in because it's sitting on our Amazon cart, and we're waiting for it to go off another 15%.
So Padre Pio, you're going to read, right?
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
All right, you're paying attention.
I'm very slow. Yeah.
All right. So this episode, after all that stuff for 3 episodes ago, we decided to get back to marriage.
As promised, Al was getting a little annoyed with me.
Yes, because
it's back to marriage.
It's right in the title, Married and Family Living.
Right. So this time we'll do marriage.
And I have to tell you, we were striking out on material for this show for I think we've had 10 pre-production meetings about what we were going to talk about.
We kept shifting, and we're recording a little earlier than we usually do.
Yeah, it's 4:00 in the afternoon.
Well, I didn't mean it like that. I mean in the month.
I know what you meant. So I think everybody knows that Linda and I do the daily readings, and we missed a day, which was on a Thursday, I believe, and it was a Saturday morning. I said, look, I want to listen to this Thursday daily reading.
Right.
Because it was about a man. It was the Genesis story of God creating a woman. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I've heard all this stuff before. So it was that same preacher who...
The one from Portland?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And he totally... It was a 4-minute...
Turned it upside
down, yeah. So it was kind of cool.
So what struck you?
Well, one thing that struck me is you were made from my rib.
Uh-huh.
So it wasn't from above. It wasn't below, like we're kind of equal, like you're side by side.
Right.
Oh, my rib, Linda. It's killing me. It's killing me, I'm telling you.
It's killing me too, but...
I can imagine. And so I thought that was very interesting because you never really think about that. You just think, he created woman from the rib.
Yep.
He created a woman as a helper. And Linda, I need a lot of help. I mean, a lot.
I think we both.
Yes. And it goes into, he actually went into talking about how you and I, because we're side by side, because our ribs match up together. We're facing outwards. We're ready to take on the battle. We're warriors against all the sin and evilness of the world, which I thought was very interesting. I never kind of really thought about it like that. I mean, there is a lot of stuff we have to battle every day, trying to keep everybody safe. But just the way he said it, it's like all these evil forces separate us from God.
Right.
And then he went into...
we're battling that together.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And then he went into talking about how marriage mirrors the Holy Trinity. And I'm like, what? I was kind of like, what the heck? And then he said the love of God to the Son created the Holy Spirit. And he's like, the love of man and woman create a kid. And that kid reflects your love back to you, and all the loves. Well, the kids reflect the love back, about 12 or 13 years, and then it's kind of iffy after that.
It's iffy for a little bit.
Yeah, it's iffy for a little bit. Then maybe they come around. Well, we're still waiting for the boomerang effect on that one, so we'll see how that happens there. So, and then he was talking about one flesh. Now,
one flesh, not one person.
Not one person, because everybody misconstrues that. Oh, it's one flesh. It's like So, with the one flesh, and then other reading in parentheses about how you have to submit to me, Linda. I think people just twist everything around.
Yeah.
So, but the one flesh is us coming together and making each other better. So I would concur to that. You've made me better.
With the homily. Oh.
Yeah, you've made me a lot better,
right back
Linda.
At you.
Well,
I say that all the time. Like, there's some things I don't think I could be strong enough.
You'd be able to do it.
What are you crushing my head?
You're only improved a little bit. Me, it's like really big.
Okay.
So I definitely got the better deal on that one. And then he went in to talk about how the church was born. He mirrored the crucifixion, how they stabbed him in the side, and blood and water came out, and it's like that's how the church was born. I was like, oh my gosh!
The water.
The church is always referred to as the bridegroom, but it was just kind of heavy. And this is all in a daily reading, a 4-minute reflection by this guy, and it was like something I've never heard before.
Isn't that cool?
Talking about marriage.
He's good. I like that guy.
Yeah, he's good. He's good. So it just kind of brought a whole new perspective to marriage, and thank goodness that came along, because we had no material until this show.
You're funny. Well, we did have a little because we knew we wanted to talk about marriage. But, as we always say, the Holy Spirit drops a whole bunch of stuff when we think, oh my gosh, how are we going to tie this together? We both listened to Focus on the Family, a podcast with the Smalleys. Yes. And they were talking about 1 Corinthians, how it said, those who marry will face troubles in life.
Yes.
Like, oh, really?
Yeah. So, and he's like, I think it was Paul saying, I don't want you to marry, but if you do, you will face trouble.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Yeah. But it says right here we're supposed to be one. So it was just interesting. Well, there's two. Like
doing the hard stuff together. Like, if you're saying from that homily that we're side by side, and that battle against Satan is, we need to be unified.
Yeah.
Right.
So you want to be side by side. You don't want to be face to face yelling at each other. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, that's happens.
A good, analogy. Visual.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of decisions that we make in life together, and we need to figure out a way to be unified in them. And, for the most part, they can be easy, small, even some big things can be easy, but once in a while, there's some difficult things, and we've got to figure out how to work through that.
Yeah, so on that same podcast, they had like a 6-part series of being unified, and it was...
Focus on the Family?
Yeah, and there was a happy couple, they looked like they were in their 30s, perfect looking people. But they were talking about decision points and how there were certain decisions that they made. They were making big decisions like moving, and one of them wasn't on board with it. And the other one's like, well, you just have to wait. We have to wait. So
wait until that
person discerns with it, and says, okay, I guess this is the way to go, I guess.
Right.
So I was thinking about, some of the decisions that we weren't on the same path.
Right.
That you had to wait for me to come around to your way of thinking. You know what I'm saying?
What episode was that?
I'm not sure what episode that was, but the thing that came to mind was the financial planner. You wanted us to get a financial planner.
Oh, yeah. When you were trying to figure out how long before you could retire.
It's never. I figured it out. It's never.
And you kept telling me when it was going to be. And I'm like, I just didn't feel confident. How many years? It took several years.
Yes.
To figure that out.
Yeah. I had to keep on dodging frying pans. Get a financial planner.
No.
You were doing the bills. This isn't cutting it.
But it just made me feel more comfortable that,
yes.
it kind of confirmed the plan in a way. Right?
Yeah. So
I mean, the plan is, you never know if it's really going to work out.
Yeah. The plan is kind of a joke because God's going to come down and say, really? This is what you thought?
Exactly.
You're crazy.
Exactly.
So that was, that took me like, I don't know, 8-10 years to do that maybe?
Yeah, it was a long time.
It took me a long time. So Linda was very patient with me.
Well, I was thinking too, like moving, that example you gave with the other couple, that's huge. Like we've done that before. We had to uproot away from family.
Yeah, I didn't want to move down here.
No.
You were ready to go.
You felt guilty. Yeah, but it wasn't like I wanted to go. I just didn't want to make it any more difficult than it was for you because I knew how it was harder for you, definitely. But I just thought, we're going to be a family and we're going to have a home no matter where we are.
Yes.
So I think the only thing that was hard for me was the church. We were so close with everybody at that church. I loved that church. And it took me a long time to get used to being at this huge parish.
It was 50 episodes ago until Linda finally felt good about being here. I think I remember when we were pulling out of that town, Churchville, I remember you screaming out the window, "So long, suckers." I remember you saying.
Woohoo!
No. Exactly.
I loved my neighbors. I loved my little house. I loved everything there.
We had, so that was very hard for me.
Something we had to do.
Yeah, and I made some crazy decisions in my 20s. And when we first got married, I'm like, oh, let's go to this startup. Let's do this. Nothing will happen. And then I had to move down here for work. And
But that wasn't your fault. The economy was crazy too. So, we have issues like that now. A lot of people do. The economy's a little sideways and, there's going to be hard decisions and you're just going to have to think about it as, you're a team, you're unified, you're side by side. You got to figure it out together. And
Corinthians 7:28, those who marry will face troubles in life. Troubles.
But, these are, I think in episode 42, we talked about arguments. So we're not really just talking about arguments, but it was kind of interesting, the research we did in that episode, that only 30% of our problems in marriage are solvable, which seems like hopeless. Like, oh my gosh, you only can solve 30%. But that 30% or the other parts that are unsolvable are like your personality. And you just have to deal with it.
Yeah, would you stop nagging me about that, Linda? Stop nagging me about the 70%. I'm not going to change.
Yeah. Well, anyway. So, you got to focus on the things that you can really solve, and the rest you just have to roll with it.
Yes, and like the Smalleys said, they're okay, the Smalleys. I'm not a big fan of them, but they had a good episode. Is like if you and I, or you and your wife or your husband are on the same page, motivated to get something done, you're like unstoppable.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's no wonder that there's going to be trouble because Satan doesn't want that to happen in a marriage.
Right.
Especially if we're mirroring the Holy Trinity.
Right.
For the first 12 years, 13 years of the kid.
Yeah.
So.
Well, let's pause for a station ID.
Oh, okay, Linda. You're listening to Married and Family Living on WSJF 92.7 with the Grasleys, episode 51.
So, how do we keep unified? We always talk about
we should just watch TV every night together.
We've been doing a lot of that.
That's what we should do.
You and I and Matt have been watching a lot of TV.
So,
junk TV, but it's fun. But anyway, to keep the communication open, understand each other, being on the same team. The Smalleys did talk about, before bed, talk about a high and low of the day, and ask each other what you can pray about for each other. And then I think we also had an episode where we talked about, it's episode 41 if anybody wants to go back and look at it, but about how you should have at least a quick discussion every day, 10, 15 minutes, and a weekly date.
And that could be just hanging out on your deck or in your kitchen without any distraction, without a phone, maybe an adult beverage or two, and just sitting around talking.
Or going out if you can. Maybe it's just a cup of coffee or lunch at Chick-fil-A. Yeah, and then try to have a yearly getaway. I know that's, can be expensive for some people, but get creative and just have some time apart.
Yeah, drop the kids off at the in-laws.
From your family, not each other.
And go somewhere, exactly.
Right.
So I didn't read this part of the script. What else are we doing here?
Well, no, so the other things that can really help your marriage is to ask for help. I think there was a homily about Jesus' journey to the cross was difficult, and there were people alongside him the whole way.
Yeah.
We had Veronica and Simon, of course, Mary. And
he stumbled 3 times.
Yeah.
The journey was not perfect.
Right. And, so marriage isn't always easy, but Christ asks us to keep it together. And, we need to allow people to come alongside us and ask for help. So, we need to ask for help if we're having trouble. Look for other couples that you think could be good mentors for you. Or in reverse, if your marriage is doing okay, not perfect, but, you have a marriage that you think there's experiences that you can share with other people that can be very helpful.
Yes. I think, even though we're doing this radio show, like there's sometimes we don't want to do the radio show because we're just not getting along too well.
What are you
But
talking about?
This radio show, us communicating between each other,
it's hugely
brings
helpful.
us together. And it kind of reminds me when you said that, like, I remember that time we went to Sacred Heart for the marriage panel, and we were just so mad at each other.
It's a pre-Cana we used to do. We got to find out if that's still going on. That was great.
Yes, but I remember one time pulling up there, like, there's just no way we should be on this panel today because we were just so annoyed with each other. But then, we went to the panel, we talked about our marriage, and then we felt better about it.
Right.
Right. So it's easy to just ignore it. Well, guys do this quite a bit. They just ignore the problem. I don't need to be there for the problem. It'll take care of itself. And women in general, you want to confront it right away.
Yeah, problem solvers.
Probably so. Well, but guys, we think very slowly about stuff. Well, I do anyway.
Well, some, yeah.
That's why it took me 8 years to get a financial advisor to look at our finances. So I don't want to talk about arguing too much, but if you're in an argument with your spouse, give the guy a little bit of time. He needs to go think about it quietly sometime. And you, most generally speaking, you women, you're right on it.
Yeah, you think? Oh, okay.
Yes, I do.
Yes, I do, with Linda. Wide eyes.
Yes.
I know. Wow.
So I hope that the show is kind of mentoring people a little bit, but we got issues.
Yeah, well, everybody does, and that's the point, but it's just to help support people, especially, you see young couples, when your kids are older, I think sometimes you forget how hard it was with younger kids because you think, bigger kids, bigger problems, smaller kids, they don't really.
They don't know they don't know how easy they got it.
Their kids nap and they, sleep many hours. Of course, our teenager does too, but offer to take their kids out for an hour, to a playground or, or offer to stay at their house so they can go out and have a cup of coffee somewhere and just have that time of, as you said, without interruption.
Right. That'd be good. Have we offered that to anybody yet?
Not recently. We really should.
Yes.
We should.
Try not to do we shouldn't be creepy either. You should do it, maybe. So
I'll ask.
Who are these people? What do they? They want to watch our kids.
Yeah, people that you know. Yeah, people that you know.
Yeah, people.
And we have a lot of people. We could ask for advice for things like just empty nest coming up, retirement, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
How you make that transition. So we also have mentors that we can look to in the Bible.
Oh, the saints.
The
saints that, yes, I like how you picked St. Joseph as the saint for the father because he doesn't say anything. There's not one word in the Bible of St. Joseph saying something.
Oh my gosh, you're funny. Well, I mean, we were just talking about St. Joseph and Mother Mary, of course. Like, they're just so full of faith, and how difficult their decision to say yes might have been, or maybe it was very easy for them. But just to wrap their head around it, making sure that they were on the same page, trusting God's plan for their lives and uniting them.
Yeah, I mean, St. Joseph really wasn't on the same page, right? He had to get visited. Hey,
yes, at first,
listen
right?
up, buddy. This is how it's going to play. So he must have been strong in faith. So, you know, if you're that's a good father figure, strong in faith.
Right.
Selflessness.
Selflessness.
So that means you're not selfish?
Exactly.
I don't know. I'm failing there miserably, Linda.
You're funny. But you think, like, you know, neither of them knew this was going to happen. Their future, I'm sure they kind of in their own heads or maybe together had plans, or their families had plans for them. And
I wonder if St. Joseph's got a financial advisor before he married Mary to see if he was going to be okay. You know what I'm saying? But he put the family first. And like you said, he probably blew up his plans for the future because it's like, hey, my family needs me. So,
yeah.
Humility.
Right. Well, I mean, Mary's pregnant out of wedlock, and
he wanted to do the right thing.
He wanted to do the right thing
quietly.
For her, quietly. And then he realized the right thing was to follow God, right?
Yep.
And take care of Mary and Jesus.
Yes.
And we don't see anything in the Bible where they, at least after they said yes, that they really wavered on that.
Yeah, there was no bickering, apparently. As far
as we know.
As far as we know. Responsibilities. Yes, St. Joseph's responsible for care, protection, and the needs of Jesus and Mary. I think he did a good job there.
Right.
And Mary showed Jesus to trust in God at Cana and beyond. So, that's a little bit different. But
yeah, that's more motherhood, isn't it? Yeah.
I'm going to have to look through the thing because there really isn't a saint that was a father, I don't think. They were all priests.
Well, Abraham became a father.
Yes, but I mean, he's like a biblical, I don't think he's a saint, was he? I mean, I'll have to see that.
Probably. I don't know.
I'll have to look
Good
that up.
question.
But like if I'm reading this book about Padre Pio, I mean, he was a spiritual man through the whole thing, but I was wondering if there's like a father who became a saint.
Well, that's something that you should have researched for this.
Well, there's always episode
podcast.
52. We just got renewed. We just got renewed
yourself.
after, yes.
We should have been side by side on this preparation.
Yes. It was more like, Linda, write this up.
Quick.
All right, so what did you have for motherhood? Well, you used St. Mary, and then you picked another one.
Well, I didn't do motherhood. We're on marriage. Remember, you wanted to talk about marriage.
Oh.
So in marriage, St. Monica, I'm studying her, and her husband was a pagan.
Oh.
And not very thrilled about her faith, but he didn't stop her. He allowed her to pray, and but I guess he was quick-tempered, as was his mother-in-law.
Oh, yes.
And she converted him shortly before he died, and the mother-in-law.
So she's got to look
never
forward.
Gave up.
Her mother-in-law's up there with her then?
Oh, boy, yeah.
Right.
Well, and St. Augustine, we know the story of him. He was quite a challenge. So, but she always put the needs of her family and her marriage first. And certainly, prayer was the big part of that. And imagine the humility of being a Christian and your husband is, got a temper. I think he was, fooling around and really didn't
sure he's
care
a pagan, right? Like whatever happens. Yeah.
So, but her parents wanted them to get married, and that's, what she did. She honored that and was able to convert him. So that was pretty amazing.
So that's a tough order for somebody to fill this day and age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just a couple other things on the website foryourmarriage.org. It's a Catholic website. It has a lot of great articles on marriage and family, children, and your faith. They had some statistics on here. It broke it out by race. I'm not sure that really matters, but in general, 78 to 80% of people surveyed. It sounds like Family Feud.
It does.
The survey says those who do attend church together, a married couple,
yes,
qualified their marriage as very happy or extremely happy, while those who did not go to church, they were only 69 to 70% of those respondents.
So it was a 10% drop.
Right.
People who don't go to church.
Right. And then 78% of the couples who pray together weekly said they were very happy or extremely happy, against 61% of couples who do not pray together.
So there you go. There's the secret sauce. Pray and go to church.
Yep. And then, so this is another interesting thing, and this is kind of like going back to mentoring and being there for each other. 76% of couples whose friends attend religious services reported a very happy or extremely happy marriage, in contrast with 65% of couples who don't. So hang out with people who
go to church.
So
we'll be available after the 8 o'clock Mass Sunday if you want to hang out. I'll be happy to have a cup of coffee with you.
Right.
So I think, too, we really didn't touch on this, but we got a couple minutes left. I think you were kind of touching on this on that Bible study you're going to, how marriage is a vocation.
Well, that was something, that wasn't a Bible study, but Pedro had brought that up. It had nothing to do with what we were talking about, but he just felt like compelled to say that your number one vocation is your marriage.
Yes. So, I mean, after God, but your vocation, like your daily thing, should be marriage. You should,
right.
And that's a way to nurture each other.
Yeah.
If you're both on the same page, like, hey, this is the number one thing.
Yeah.
So, and you give each other grace. Things won't bother you. Everything will be just great. Yeah, Jake. Everything will be just great. So
a lot of these episodes, we recommend websites and podcasts and books. And a lot of those books, too, we get out of the library. And, if you think you're feeling a little disconnected from your spouse in that way, find a book that you're interested in, even if, maybe it's a book about a saint or specifically about communicating. The Gary Chapman.
Yes.
He has a lot of good
He's got
books
a lot of good books out there
too. Matthew Kelly books, find something that's kind of an easy read that you can both read through and talk about, or listen to podcasts, listen to relevant radio on WSJF.
Yep.
And then get back together and talk about it every once in a while. It doesn't have to be daily, but weekly would be a perfect timing.
Right. All right. So before we wrap it up, we're still in Lent, so prepare for Easter. And if you failed a couple of times at what you want to do in Lent, start it up again. Just give it a go. All right. Thank you so much for listening. I will try to do better next show.
As always.
As always, thanks for listening to Married and Family Living with the Grasleys.
Thanks to Al and Linda for creating the content for the show, and thanks also to Matt Grassley for engineering support. And thank you to our listeners for taking the time to listen. We'll catch you next time on Married and Family Living with the Grasleys on WSJF 92.7 FM.